You know, it's crazy how much hype there is around the Galaxy S21. Every year Samsung updates the series and the internet goes wild. Stacking a phone with the latest and greatest tech never stops turning heads, and now with some OEM competitors such as Google stepping down from the higher priced top tier flagship game, Samsung can much more easily take the higher end smartphone market by storm. I've been using the Galaxy S21 Ultra for a little over a month now, and Samsung is not f***ing around here. But even a flagship that can cost upwards of $1,000 has its disadvantages. I pulled together a list of 5 of the best and 5 of the worst things I found within the Galaxy S21 series so that hopefully I can help you better decide if this is the right phone for you. Let's start it off on a positive note by discussing the 5 best things first. I love the performance on the Galaxy S21. Even though I've been using the most expensive US model, the S21 Ultra, the regular S21 and S21 Plus still come packed with the same chipset, so the performance difference is minimal. However, that's not to say that the both lower end models are exactly on par with the Ultra, since they do have a lower RAM capacity, but we'll discuss that later on in the video. This definitely felt like the fastest phone I've ever used yet. The Snapdragon 888 breezes through simple tasks like opening apps, it rarely ever stutters, and the super smooth 120Hz display makes even basic things like scrolling and navigating through apps into eye candy. Showing it off to some of my friends, especially those who own an iPhone, they were always shocked by the screen's fluidity. I'd honestly even find myself unlocking the phone just to appreciate how smooth everything was, and whenever I unlocked the screen, I was always surprised at how fast the phone's new fingerprint scanner was. Apparently, Samsung used an upgraded 3D Sonic sensor, which is supposed to be 77% larger and 50% faster than the fingerprint sensor found on the Galaxy S20. And let me tell you, the difference in speed and recognition is definitely noticeable. Rarely has it ever missed a red or taken more than 2 seconds to unlock the phone. It definitely unlocks a lot faster than the iPhone, especially when you're wearing a mask, since iOS can't recognize your face when you're wearing one. I mean, Samsung can't either, but you can still use your fingerprint even if your face is covered up. Anyways, enough about the performance, it's time to talk about just how beautiful this phone is. I remember watching the Samsung Unpacked event and sort of snickering at how long it took them to just settle on a black color for the S21 Ultra.
There's only one perfect black. It's bold, yet understated. Black is the most difficult color to create.
Well, they showed me because when I first took the phone out of the box, I literally fell in love with the new matte black finish. You know, I've used a ton of black phones in the past, but none of them really hit me like this one. The only minor thing to keep in mind is that your oily fingerprints can still leave smudges. If it bothers you that much, a simple skin from China sponsor Dbrand should instantly fix that issue. Actually, they just made the MKBHD icon skins permanently available, and the texture looks amazing on the Ultra. The triple black color complements the phone's theme really well, but of course you can still choose to customize it with plenty of other materials, or even purchase a customizable grip case to protect the device from deadly drops. If you're thinking about getting the S21 Ultra, you're definitely going to want to pick up a grip case because that 6.8-inch display isn't easy to manage. If you're interested, go to dbrand.com/AP or find a link right below the like button. Anyways, the S21 Ultra also felt extremely premium in hand thanks to its aluminum frame and glass back. I can't really say the same for the regular S21 since the back is plastic, but the violet color scheme still looks fire, especially with the gold colored camera module. Just like last year, Samsung isn't scared about hiding the large camera array. I think it's a marketing scheme at this point. They're emphasizing the camera module on the back so that you'll immediately think that these phones have fantastic cameras. But luckily they do. Well, I haven't really used the lower end S21 models, just the Ultra, but they do share some hardware, so there should be similarities. Anyways, I've always been able to capture a scene just the way I pictured it in my head using the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and trust me, I've taken a ton of pictures on these cameras. I've captured large landscapes, city shots, portraits, close-up shots, and night shots. I even went to San Francisco and it was able to even capture some good zoomed in shots of the Alcatraz Island while standing on the other side of the shoreline, and some amazing shots of the Golden Gate Bridge. Samsung still claims a shocking 100x zoom, but that's more of a show-off feature than an actual useful thing. Samsung did increase the quality at the far end of that range compared to last year, but nothing you take at 100x will ever be Instagram worthy, though at least the viewfinder can stabilize things at that crazy level. The quality of the photos taken during the day and sometimes even at night are still amazing. Details are extremely crispy, even better than those taken on the iPhone 12 Pro or Pixel 5, colors are also much more accurate than its predecessor, but it's still not quite as natural as the Pixel or iPhone. Nighttime shots look very bright and detailed when using night mode, though sometimes certain light sources in a picture like a lamppost rays get overblown and aspects of the picture look over smoothened. Still, I'm extremely satisfied with the quality of the cameras and beyond in love with a few of the Samsung's extra camera goodies that other phones don't have. Director's View lets you capture the front and back camera at the same time to create a cool vlog style video. There's also Single Take, which lets you snap a photo or record a video, and it'll spit out a ton of other kinds of unique pictures, videos, or even GIFs after the fact. Portrait Video lets you change the background of a subject while recording a video, and there are a ton of other awesome modes. So while there may be a few phones out there that take more accurate photos, I think the S21 Ultra has the complete camera package. Another great thing about the Galaxy S21 is the display, and I'm not really surprised because this has always been Samsung's forte. The screen on the S21 Ultra practically has it all. It's Quad HD, Dynamic AMOLED, has a refresh rate of 120Hz, which is LTPO so that it scales down for power savings. It supports HDR10+, and it's one of the brightest screens that I've ever used. Plus, it's huge. At 6.8 inches, consuming content on this beast is spectacular. It's neither so big that it gets uncomfortable to hold when you're watching a movie like you might run into with a tablet, or so small that your eyes get tired of focusing on it at a stretch. It's the perfect size for entertainment. Plus, I love that Samsung made the back and front glass curved so that it's easier to grasp. Trust me, at this size, you need the curved edges. The only thing I will say is that if you have fairly small hands or try to use the Ultra with only one hand, it's going to be hard to manage. If you know you like a smaller size, I think the regular S21 would be a better option. The screen is just 6.2 inches, which is around the same size as the iPhone 12 Pro. It just won't get as bright as the Ultra, and the resolution maxes out at 1080p instead of Quad HD. Finally, with the new update to Android 11, Samsung's One UI software just feels a lot more modern and clean. They completely nailed the design for the volume controls even when they're expanded. The notification panel is now a lot more organized and lets me find a notification much more quickly since it separates certain alerts into its own category. The pop-up alerts are also a lot smaller and less obtrusive since it doesn't overtake the top half of the screen. Some customization options in the settings have been visually improved to make certain modifications much faster and easier, like adding a GIF to the always-on display. As of now, the Galaxy S21 series are the only Samsung phones to connect to Samsung DeX wirelessly. The Good Lock app has been updated with a ton more features to customize, including the navigation bar. And I still enjoy some of Samsung's long-standing exclusive features like Bixby routines to automate specific tasks, Dual Messenger to make copies of a single app sandbox for different accounts, and turning the power key into a shortcut to open other apps on a double press. One UI 3.1 is still the feature-packed software king, but there are still plenty of things about it that annoy me, which I'll discuss in a bit. On that note, let's switch it over to 5 of the worst features about the Galaxy S21. Just a heads up, some of these complaints could be seen as nitpicks. They are undesirable features, but nothing that ruins the phone in my opinion. First off, these phones aren't cheap, and that's usually been the case with recent Galaxy S devices. Ever since the release of the Galaxy S10 Plus, the Samsung has been selling phones that cost upwards of $1,000. The S21 Ultra 5G starts at a minimum of $1,200, and the cheapest S21 device still costs as much as an iPhone 12, $800. I think at this point, Samsung is expecting most of its customers to either finance, buy it through carriers, or taking advantage of trade-ins since they're being very generous with how much they deduct the price for your 2 to 3 year old smartphone. For example, I was able to trade in a Galaxy Note 10 Plus for $550. That's a 2-year-old phone that is selling on eBay for around $480. That's actually a big part of why I don't think the S21 Ultra is worth $1,200. These days, budget phones are performing very similarly to these higher-end flagships, and some even have better features like an improved camera or software experience. So even though the Galaxy S21 Ultra will provide you with a fantastic experience, it's still a hard sell. But one that's a lot more justifiable for someone who's been rocking a 3 to 4 year old smartphone and wants to pick up something new that will last just as long, especially now that Samsung promises 4 years of updates. Of course, there are cheaper phones in the Galaxy S21 lineup as well, but that brings me to my next point. If you're considering one of the lower priced S21 models, of course you're going to see a few cut corners compared to the Ultra series flagship, but some of the changes are even downgrades from just last year and the S20 series. Firstly, both the Galaxy S21 and S21 Plus have a lower RAM capacity at 8GB, while the Ultra gets the special treatment of 12 to 16GB. It's a step down from even the Galaxy S20 line, since all three of those phones had a baseline of 12GB of RAM. Granted, you may not need all that memory, but if there's anything we've learned from previous Samsung phones, it's that they tend to get bogged down over time, and that extra RAM would have been nice. The S21 and S21 Plus also have a lower screen resolution of 1080p, which doesn't seem like a huge deal, but I would have still liked to see a Quad HD screen on the Plus model, at least since it's almost as big as the Ultra and literally still costs $1,000. The regular S21 model, not to get confused with the S21 Plus, also has a plastic back, which they didn't do last year with the Galaxy S20. Oh, and it also costs just as much as an iPhone 12 or OnePlus 8T, and both those phones have a glass back. And finally, with Samsung now allowing the S21 lineup to use a stylus like the Note phones get, it's a bummer that they're only supporting the S21 Ultra. Like, come on bro, it's just a pen. Like, why do I have to upgrade to a phone that costs $400 to $200 more just to use a $40 pen? It's ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous is that there are more downgrades that even the S21 Ultra couldn't escape. There's no longer an SD card slot for any of the Galaxy S21 phones. Granted, the baseline for every model is 128GB, and that on its own is pretty hard to fill up. Plus, if you need the extra space, you can still upgrade to 512GB for any model. Just like Apple, Samsung no longer includes a charging brick in the box anymore, just a USB-C cable, so now you're left with reusing the USB Type-C adapter you already have, or which I hope you already have, or buying a new one. On the bright side, you don't have to deal with a proprietary charging port, and there are plenty of good and cheap third-party ones on Amazon. And finally, the Galaxy S21 lineup no longer supports the MST feature for Samsung Pay here in the US. If you're not familiar, MST allowed you to use Samsung Pay even when payment terminals didn't support NFC, working with the magnet strip reader, but now it's gone. Moving on, I know it's going to be a little confusing that I called out the software as one of the best Galaxy S21 features, but there are still a few things about One UI 3.1 that can be improved or tossed out. Of course, this is all opinion here, but I'm sure the majority of you can agree that the bloatware needs to go. And when I mention bloatware, I just mean allowing us to disable any pre-installed apps that a lot of us may not use, such as the Samsung Notes app, Samsung Free, Bixby, or duplicate Samsung apps that Google may already have made. One UI Home also needs a ton of improvements. For one, it's not that customizable. For example, it doesn't support any icon packs from the Play Store, you can only add up to 5 apps in the dock, and the home screen grid is still very limited. And secondly, there's no option to change the app drawer to a vertical one, so I constantly need to swipe multiple times from left to right just to find a single app if I can't remember the name. And if you don't like the built-in launcher, switching to another one is buggy if you use gesture navigation. But at least they enable the Google Discover panel on the leftmost screen. And finally, One UI is filled with a ton of ads. It may not seem like it has any at all, but that's just because Samsung just does a great job of hiding them and making them look like native content at a glance. And they have a tendency to pop up more over time. Most of them are found within a handful of Samsung apps, like the Samsung Health app with a banner up at the top, Samsung Pay in the Home tab, the Weather app, another ad at the top, Samsung Music, which hides an ad inside the Tracks page, acting like it's part of your library, and even just Bixby. It all makes an expensive phone feel cheap. Lastly, with every new hardware release, there's always bound to be hardware and software issues that the general public discovers. The Galaxy S21 has a few. Firstly, there's a battery drain issue occurring to some users after they downloaded the February security software update. Samsung is aware of it and is currently working on a fix. Some users are also complaining about poor sound quality issues coming from the phone's upper loudspeaker, stating that it's crackling or being too quiet at times. And when the phone first rolled out, European Galaxy S21 owners had issues with not getting OTA updates and issues with the Samsung Pay. I even had my own share of issues with the 5G connectivity. At times when I tried to call someone, I couldn't even hear them on the other end of the phone, and other times I couldn't even send messages. Restarting often multiple times fixed it for me. I'm sure most of these problems will be addressed in the future because they are probably just software bugs, but as of now, if you choose to get the Galaxy S21 early on, don't be surprised if you run into issues like these. Either way, that's my pros and cons list for the Galaxy S21. If you guys enjoyed it, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Galaxy S21 and if you think it's worth it. Make sure to get subscribed with the notification bell turned on for more awesome Android videos just like this one. Don't forget to check out those dbrand skins, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.